Do you want to bust your sales quota? Do you want to join the ranks of top 1% sellers? The Top 1% Sellers podcast gives you the insights and the tools to help you achieve your sales greatness. The podcast features sales and services professionals, leaders, and experts to give you the edge you're looking for. Here's your host, Ash Sadiq.
I remember years ago when I was selling software in Japan and China and everywhere else, and we had a technology company, and of course I remember sitting down with these executives in this meeting room in Shinjuku, and they were complaining about the bugs in the software. They go, they would say, well, why are there bugs? I said, what are you talking about? It's freaking software. Of course there's bugs in software. Every piece of software has bugs in it. That's the nature of software. And I started telling them, in fact, you know what? Those are features. I should charge you for those. I went on the offensive saying every one of the 110 bugs that we identified, I said, those are features. And I started selling them as features, This crashes so it helps you know how to do the system again. So I was doing all those kinds of things. Anything to get out of it, because I was in big trouble at that point. So
absolutely. And I'd like to now kind of shift gear a little bit. And you've been in many situations where, again, you were on the receiving end of a lot of these sales conversations, and some of them, you sat there wondering, to your point back to, the fact that, you saw one sales account manager or executive coming in and not using the right logo. What other pitfalls have you seen sales professionals make, especially in front of the C-suite buyers?
There's a couple of them. I will tell you the biggest one I see is that you quit too soon. I truly, look, it's really tough selling to the C-suite. I do not want to minimize it. That it's tough. You have to stalk us. You have to go after us. You have to find us. But to stalk us, you want to be very well prepared. And so it's really around understanding the personality types. The other one I'll mention is to shut up. Sometimes I think it's important for you to shut up when you have the sale. I've seen deals lost because you keep talking.
They talk themselves out of a deal.
Exactly. You had me alone. Now you're irritating. I'm not interested. But so match the personality types. Look, I have a very distinct personality types. If we look at the 4 basic personality types. I'm a driver. So I have two modes of operation. I either want to seduce you and win you over, or I want to kill you. I mean, and I'm saying that in a very nicest in terms, but that's the way drivers, you walk into my office, you look on the wall, what do you see? You see dead animals, things I've killed, trophies, things like that. That's what you see. And that's what a driver is like. So to sell to me and is a different way of a different approach. So you want to be very matter of fact. You want to be very, very quick as well. And then you want to always have a 2 to 3 option close. Now, why would you want a 2 to 3 option close? Because I just got through telling you, I either want to win you over or kill you. So if you give me one solution and you say, here's the proposal, and it's one option, well, what's my other option is no.
Yeah.
And almost 90% of the time they'll choose no. So what you always want to do is give them a choice, because the executives that are direct, driver personalities, they like to choose and pick and decide the fate of those things. And so you want to be able to do that, and you always want to put it in writing with them, because they're very, very formal. Now, but I've seen people who've come in who are analytics, and they use a summary close, or they use a trial close. You don't use a trial close on a driver, because I'll take that as a challenge. I know what you're doing. When you come over to me and say, if you were to buy that printing or that couch or that chair, where would you put it? Well, that's a trial close. Well, I'll tell you where I'll put it. I'm going to shove it where the sun doesn't shine. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. So, so those are the things you typically see. So you want to be able to understand the real, 4 basic personality types: the driver, amiable, analytical, and expressive. Yes. And you want to be able to know how to sell them. What closes would you like to use? And a lot of people think you just wing this stuff, and man, you don't wing it. And the best salespeople in the world I know take the time to learn, like you're doing right now. You take the time to analyze. You take the time to do your homework. Yes. Where when people see you do it, they think, "Oh my gosh, this person, it's so easy, so natural." You know why it's natural? Because they've been practicing. You know why it's natural? It's because they've been studying. You know why it's natural? Because they've been learning. And so, and it's not easy. And in fact, in my book, Think Big, Act Bigger, I talk about it's hard. You know why it's called hard? Because it's freaking hard. Okay. And that's the way it is. And I think that's important for people to be able to understand. So some of the worst mistakes I have seen are caused by not being prepared, being stupid, not knowing your stuff. And that's the ones I give you lots of examples where people have done it. I've watched them, I've seen it, just blow things.
Absolutely. And I'd love to go to the whole discussion you had around cadence in an organization. I think if we look at a sales professional, man or woman, who's got a sales team, they work for a big organization, whether it's IBM, Cisco, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and they're trying to go out, build a team around them, and go and hunt within a particular named account or even to acquire new customers. As you think about your own sales activities, how do you make sure that there's almost like a sales cadence or a sales team cadence, right? How would you advise a sales professional to build one up and maybe shield it from what's going on around them?
Well, and that's a good point. And then have it supported in a way that meets the cadence so they can continue to drive so the river doesn't dry up on them. That's an important piece. And so we talk about cadence, and I talk about this in the book. The cadence is your speed, the way in which you operate. It's almost like an operating philosophy. But when you walk in any business, or if you watch television, I use that as an example. When you watch Downton Abbey, there's a certain cadence that's very slow and formal.
Yes.
And a mode of operation. Yet, but when you watch, an old show like ER or some cop show or something, it's boom, 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 boom in your face. Well, what is the cadence of your own organization? Sometimes they don't match the company organization, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to have to build in the buffers and build in the support team to meet the cadence of the team, because that cadence of your team usually has to match the cadence of the company you're selling to as well.
That's a good point.
Or to drive it, and I always like to be a little bit faster than the companies I'm selling to.
Yes.
So I can stay on top of it. I look better. I look faster. We look, like we have our stuff together. So it's real important that you really define that and understand what that is, because, if you don't have that, then it develops based on your lowest common denominator.
Yes.
So if you're not driving those things, you can only go as fast as the slowest member of your teams, right?
Exactly.
So if you're gonna, like you asked a great example, typically your sales team's gonna have to pull away from the rest of the team, have the support mechanisms inside to drive a faster cadence to the rest of the company, or you're gonna be waiting for someone to give you the contract.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that requires you to do different things. I got a partner in a major media company, which will not be named. And a lot of times they don't move fast enough with my sales team selling my podcast or selling the stuff that I'm doing. So what we have to do is we have to operate a little differently than the CBS team does. And we do it and we handle it. And then we made a deal with CBS. You just bill us and do those things because we can move faster than they can move.
Package them up. Yeah.
And they still get what they want, and we still get what we want, right? They still get money, and we still get money. We just get it faster, exactly. and hopefully bigger than the other checks that we normally get.
That's beautiful. And I can definitely see a lot of these account managers having to have these conversations, sort of building that cadence up and more or less nurturing it and communicating why it's important.
Yeah. And typically a leader will set the pace for that, right? So, if your leader's not also practicing that, you're going to fall back to a slower cadence and your team will be frustrated and they can't keep, so as a leader, if you're leading that team, you want to keep that in mind. I always try to stay ahead of all my team. So they come in at 8, I come in at 7:45. They come in at 7:45, I come in at 7:30. They send me 10 emails, I send them 20. I take everything as a competition. So that and I want them to know you try, please try to beat me. I love it, but you'll never do it because that's the leader I should be. Now I nurture them and bring them along and I push them and everything. But I think that's if you're going to be the sales leader, as many of you are watching this, you want to be that person who lives it, drinks it, drink the Kool-Aid. and drink, make your own Kool-Aid and then drink it by the gallonful. Because if you can do that, then people start to see that. And, I talk about in my book, I talk about even cleaning bathrooms, this weekend I was in an LPGA tournament with the CEO of a major company, and he owns a big fast food chain, huge. And, as we're driving around the cart, and he's the sponsor of this national tournament, he's getting out of the cart to pick up paper that was on the ground.
Wow.
Okay. Because he's sponsoring, he wants it reflective. And I thought, man, I love to see that, because he's walking his talk,
Absolutely. Leading by example. Absolutely. You talk also about the concept of re-envisioning the pond. I'm quoting from the book, and also creating an enemy. And I wonder, does Jeffrey Hayzlett do that in his sales activities? Do you always have an enemy in mind?
Yeah, the enemy could be the problem we're trying to solve.
Yes.
Right? So the enemy could be, my competitor. The enemy could be me.
Yes.
But, in terms of my complacency or whatever it might be sometimes, because, look, I got a stack of proposals sitting on my desk right now, and I'm in the middle of slowing all this stuff down. So I had to turn to my team and say, you've got to get me out of the middle. I'm stopping you guys from making millions because these things are sitting on my desk. You need to crush me, kill me, get me out of the way of you making this money, because I want that money too, And it's like, I tell my team, I said, I was talking about corporate said this and corporate said that. And they said, well, you're corporate. I said, I know, I hate the man, but you need to do some of that, because I think it creates a tension, and creating tension in the system, either from yourself or from others, is a good thing to have. And so I give permission to my team to challenge me, push me, I'm constantly being pulled for time and this and this and this and this to, like today I'm supposed to be doing voiceovers. Yes. And of course I just blow it off because I can't stand to sit in a sound booth and just, read shit. Right. And so, but I get paid for that, and I told the team, you gotta force me, you gotta grab me, drag me in there, and lock me in until I beat on the door. Yeah. So I slide the tape, or the sound disc underneath the under the door, and then it's finished. Then you can let me out. So it's okay. So, but I think if you have an enemy, you have something to go for, and you have something to really pinpoint. And and my point, what I made in the book as well, Ash, was where sometimes I'll have companies who are pitching me, and they say, well, we're the only ones that do that. Well, if you're the only ones that do this, if you're the only ones that sell this, then you're not really the best, right? You're just the only one. Yeah. I'd rather have you be the best, Yeah. That's why I think it's good to have that enemy. Yeah.
Absolutely. If I look at your history, just given the amount of creativity and innovation in terms of the businesses that you've been into, there's definitely a lot of re-envisioning the pond that you yourself do. And I think if you think of a sales professional, also when you're working on your own deals, how is that thought process in action? And then how do you tell another sales professional to sort of adopt that? Because it would enlarge the deal size, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. Well, so a couple of things. I always want to go into most things in life, everything, with I don't know what I don't know.
Yes.
Now, I go in having been there before. Look, I bought and sold over 250 businesses in my career. So when I'm buying a business, doing the business, or doing this or doing that, I kind of have a sense for this is the same old stuff, right? I mean, there's not much that's new. But if I do that, then I get lazy. If I do that, I make huge mistakes, and I leave money on the table. If I do this thinking this is the same deal as the deal I just did, and didn't ask the other question, or didn't listen, or didn't pay attention, or didn't look around to my surroundings and see what kind of cars they're driving, what they're doing, what kind of pennies they got, or does she send her son to private school? Those are telltale signs that I can have, and one time I had a guy who was trying to sell me his business, and I'm looking at the books, and there's no profit, but yet he's got a brand new Mercedes outside. And so he was then telling me, well, I don't report everything. Well, if you don't report everything, I don't pay for everything.
Yes.
So, but that was my observation was, wait, that didn't mesh. Yes. So if you don't question yourself, then if you don't go into some state of I'm not aware of what I'm aware of,
yes.
then you treat things in the same old way, and that's not good. It's not good for your marriage, right?
Yes.
It's not good to not reinvent things. So I try to look at that, and so what I always try to do is say, okay, yeah, this is a phone, but it's more than a phone. It's this. And we can talk about all the features and functionality, but no. This is the most personal device there is in the world.
Yes.
I know where my phone is more than I know where my children are. Okay. Think about that. If you lost your phone and your kids at the mall at the same time, which one did you go looking for first? Okay. So therefore, this thing is not just a communications device. It's a valuable personal item that I identify with because it has my life. So what's that mean? So again, if that's what I mean. So when you look at redefining the pond, well, we have this pond, but what kind of pond? Could it be a bigger pond? Should we drain the pond and put it into a river and reroute the river? And that's the things you want to think of. And I'm not saying, drive change for change's sake, because no one gets in a car and locks in the steering wheel or locks in the brake. I'm talking about we make adjustments. And so be open to making adjustments, to taking a new route, a new way, a new speed. And if you do that, you get some great valuable things.
Thank you for tuning in to the Top 1% Sellers podcast. Give us your suggestions and guest recommendations by emailing us at ash@connectwithash.com. Thank you also for sharing this podcast with your colleagues and social media contacts. To connect with us on LinkedIn, please send a connect request to ash@connectwithash.com. See you at our next episode. Thanks for tuning in.